Okay, welcome to the deep dive. You shared some really fascinating source material with us for this deep dive, an article about a truly gripping incident.
Yeah, that video from China, the young girl in the elevator.
Exactly. Her incredibly quick thinking escaping a suspicious person, it really took off.
It did, and it seems simple on the surface, right? Just a news story.
But the reaction was huge.
Yeah.
The article you sent, it went deep, calling her response a model textbook for self-defense.
That phrase, model textbook, it really landed.
Oh, absolutely. You can see why it hit home for so many parents. It sparks that immediate, fundamental question. Could my child do the same thing?
Exactly, yeah. That specific question, it really gets to the heart of a huge concern for parents everywhere, doesn't it?
It really does.
So what this deep dive is going to do is, take that story, the one that seems simple, and peel back the layers based on the article.
And pull out the lessons.
Yeah, the profound lessons it offers on, like, practical child safety and self-protection skills.
So our mission today is to really unpack what happened. And more importantly, dig into the insights the article gives us to understand why her actions were so effective.
And how these skills aren't just, luck.
Right. But that they can actually be taught,
Right.
practiced. Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
So diving into what happened, the article paints this picture. A girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, alone in an elevator.
Right. And then a man enters. The article calls him suspicious, but here's a key thing about his appearance.
What was it?
Well-dressed, gray hair. He didn't immediately scream, danger,
Yeah.
Not the stereotypical bad guy look.
And that's such a critical detail the source highlights, isn't it? That danger doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always look scary.
Spot on. What was remarkable, though, was the girl's immediate reaction. It was so effective.
Yeah, the article points to very specific actions she took. That's the model textbook part.
Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't just random panic, like you might expect.
No, the source detailed it. She kept trying to create distance, this continuous avoidance within that tiny space.
Using her backpack, too.
Yeah, like a shield or a barrier.
Yeah.
And then the absolute crucial moment, the second those elevator doors opened.
She was out, seized the opportunity, escaped quickly.
And didn't just run anywhere. She ran deliberately toward the crowded area, towards light.
And the article really drives home the point, that her success wasn't just luck. It pushes back hard against a really common misconception.
Which one's that?
The idea that just telling kids don't talk to strangers is like enough protection.
Because, like you said, the danger didn't look like the kind of stranger kids are usually warned about.
Precisely. The article is explicit. Her success came down to her having using 3 crucial trained skills.
And skills. Okay, that's interesting. Not instinct, but something learned. What were they?
So the source lists them. 1, recognizing risk even when the situation seems okay on the surface. 2, reacting promptly and not freezing up. And 3, using whatever is available for self-defense, like she did with the backpack. And what's fascinating here is how strongly the source emphasizes these aren't things kids just automatically know. They're skills that need practice from a young age.
That really makes you think, doesn't it? For everyone listening, are we actually building these specific reflexes with our children, or are we just sort of hoping they'll figure it out?
It's like fire drills. You practice the reaction so it becomes automatic.
Makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And the article also flags these common vulnerable situations, calls them safety blind spots.
Ah, okay. What kind of spots?
Well, it challenges the idea that predators only target certain kids based on, say, appearance.
So it's not about being pretty or cute, like some people might think.
Not according to this source, no. It makes it very clear the key factor is vulnerability, usually created by being isolated.
Isolated.
Yeah, the term the article uses, because saw bad people, they often look for children who are alone, maybe distracted, without an adult right there.
Ah, so these safety blind spots, they're about the environment, the situation, like riding an elevator alone, like she was.
Or walking on empty streets, waiting alone on a corner somewhere. The source really stresses it's the vulnerability of being alone that's the main risk.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. And building on that idea that danger doesn't always look scary, the article gives some really crucial advice on teaching kids to recognize potential danger beyond just, someone who looks obviously bad.
This feels vital. How do you actually teach a child about subtle danger? It sounds tricky.
It is. The source points out that these cuts, they can seem gentle or kind. They might use toys or sweet words trying to lure a child.
So the advice isn't just that old "don't talk to strangers" line.
No, it's more nuanced. It's about teaching children that anyone unfamiliar, anyone who tries to approach them or touch them or invite them somewhere,
Or separate them from you.
exactly, or separate them from others, could potentially be a danger. It's about the action they're taking, regardless of how nice they seem or look.
That shift in focus from looks to actions feels much more practical for a kid to actually grasp and use.
I think so too.
So, okay, how do we put this into practice? The article moves from spotting danger to practical methods for enabling this self-protection.
It does, and one of the first things is trying to prevent that isolation whenever you can.
Makes sense.
The source strongly recommends limiting situations where children are alone in those secluded areas. Elevators, parking garages, empty hallways, stairwells.
Those blind spots again.
Right. Arrange for company or make sure an adult is with them in those kinds of places if possible.
Okay, so minimize the opportunity. What other practical tools does the article bring up?
It mentions communication tools like phone watches or GPS devices.
Oh yeah, those are popular now.
They are, but the key insight here is framing them not just as cool gadgets or toys, but as safety tools, essential ones.
And teaching them how to use them properly.
Crucially, yes.
Hmm.
Spending time showing your child exactly how and, importantly, when to use them correctly in an emergency, not just for fun.
Okay, so prevention, tools, and then there's that practice element we talked about earlier, building reflexes.
Absolutely. The source really highlights simulating scenarios. It says it's incredibly important.
Even if it feels a bit awkward. Play acting.
Yeah, even then. Regularly play acting potential dangerous situations helps build those automatic reflexes we discussed so they don't freeze.
What kind of reflexes specifically should we be practicing?
The article gives specifics. Stepping back quickly if someone gets too close or tries to grab them, yelling loudly, like a real loud yell, not a whimper.
Right. Make noise.
Definitely. Running towards places with people and light, just like the girl did. And using objects they have, like that backpack, for cover or to make it harder to grab them.
Practical stuff.
Very. It even suggests creating a simple, memorable safety mantra or maybe a code word together.
Like a phrase they can yell that triggers their safety plan.
Exactly. Something super easy to remember when they're scared or stressed.
Okay, that makes sense.
And another key practical point the article makes is about encouraging resistance.
Encouraging resistance. That feels counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it? Kids are often taught to be polite, not to make a fuss.
It does feel that way, but the source suggests we need to reframe it. Resistance, in a moment of danger, it shouldn't be seen as being impolite or rude.
How does it frame it?
It's presented as a child's absolute right. They're right when their safety is threatened.
Okay, and how do you teach a child how to resist effectively? Beyond yelling and running.
Well, the article mentions teaching physical methods, like using the backpack as a shield, like we saw, or even tactics like pretending to fall down.
Pretending to fall. Why?
It makes them suddenly a heavier sort of dead weight, harder to drag, plus it might draw attention.
Ah, clever.
And crucially, always teaching them to look for and seize any opportunity to run away towards safety.
This whole discussion, it leads to another really critical point. And frankly, a tough issue the source addresses.
What's that?
The importance of actually trusting children when they report something that felt wrong to them.
Oh, this is one of the most powerful points in the article, I thought. It talks about these heartbreaking cases where kids do try to report something unsettling.
An interaction that felt off.
Exactly. But the adults dismiss it. They say things like, oh, you must have misunderstood, or don't make trouble, or that horrible one, you don't want to ruin that person's reputation.
Ugh. And that just completely erodes the child's trust, right?
Yeah.
Makes them think, why bother telling anyone next time?
Totally. If we connect this to the bigger picture, trusting children, taking their feelings and their reports seriously, it's an absolutely vital layer of their protection.
Yeah.
They need to feel empowered, not just to resist in the moment, but to know for sure that when they come to an adult for help or to report something, they will be believed, they'll be supported.
That makes profound sense.
Yeah.
Dismissing something small could stop them reporting something huge later on.
You got it.
And then the article ends with this really powerful reflection. It looks at the meaning behind the girl's final action in that video.
Or running towards the light and the people.
Yes, that deliberate choice.
Yeah, this is where it's really interesting. The source suggests that moment, it was about more than just, physical escape.
What else was it?
It was almost like a declaration. By running towards safety, towards people, she was sending a clear message. I won't let the bad person succeed.
Wow.
It was like an active assertion of her own safety, her own agency in that moment.
That's a fantastic way to frame it. An act of defiance through seeking safety, not just passive flight. Really powerful.
Mhm.
So bringing it all back, the core message from the source you shared, the main takeaway isn't that we need to, like, build a sterile, risk-free bubble for our kids. That's impossible anyway.
No, exactly. The goal, as the article really strongly stresses, is equipping them, giving them the awareness, the practical skills, and, yeah, the confidence they need to protect themselves effectively when danger does pop up.
And it's not a one-time conversation, is it? The source emphasizes this is a long-term thing, an
Right.
ongoing journey.
Definitely. It needs consistent chats, reinforcement, practice, just like learning any other really crucial life skill.
Which brings us right back around to that initial question, the one that kicked off this deep dive. Could my child do this?
Yeah.
And the source makes a really compelling case that preparedness is absolutely key. It feels like a call to action, doesn't it?
Mm.
Urging parents not to wait.
Right. Don't wait for something scary to happen to realize the training is needed. Start now.
This whole exploration,
Hmm.
guided by the source material you brought in, it really makes you look at the nuances of child safety differently, recognizing subtle dangers, the power of actual
It
practice.
shifts the perspective.
It really does. And it leaves me with this final thought, maybe for you listening. Given the source's emphasis on spotting those subtle safety blind spots and the absolute need for practical training, what unexamined areas might exist in our own daily routines, our own environments?
Mm-hmm.
The places or situations we navigate without a second thought, but that our children are also moving through, maybe sometimes alone or in vulnerable moments, where these skills might suddenly, unexpectedly be needed.